Hi, I'm an optimist, and I'm worried about Hunter Greene.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You're Locked On Reds, your daily source for all things Cincinnati Reds. I'm Stephen Offenbaker. He's Jeff Carr. We love baseball. And even though this team doesn't always love us back, we love these Cincinnati Reds also. We've taken our love for the game, our love for this team, and we have turned it into information for you. Locked On Reds is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And on today's podcast, we're going to have to discuss yet another lackluster performance from Hunter Greene. We're also going to take a look at several of the players on this team that are right now going through, I guess it's fair to call it a slump. And we're going to tell you who we are most concerned about right now. Don't worry, though. We're going to end the show on a high note because we're going to be talking about what Elly De La Cruz continues to do and a string of great performances from the bullpen. We're going to get into all of that coming up in just a minute. But before we do, let's shout out the sponsor of today's podcast. Today's show is brought to you in part by eBay Motors. From brakes to exhaust kits and beyond, eBay Motors has over 122 million parts to keep your ride or die alive. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to bring home that big win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit, only available to U.S. customers. All right, Jeff. Hunter Greene. Another lackluster performance. He put the Reds in a big hole. They were down 5 fairly quickly. For some reason, he pitched to Christian Yelich. I keep saying
Never
they shouldn't
pitched to
do that.
Christian Yelich.
Do
Yes,
not
never.
pitch to Christian Yelich. Not a great performance by Hunter Greene. He did do some things different last night than what he's been doing, but the results were largely the same.
Yeah, I see. Here's the thing. Like, coming into last night's game, Hunter Greene was doing all right. I started to see command. I started to see him really locate stuff. And if you want to squint really hard, you can see 9 strikeouts and 1 walk against the Brewers in 6 innings. It's just more of the same with homers and hits and hard hit line drives everywhere. And the thing that got me was that this was his 5th career start against the Milwaukee Brewers. And in 5 career starts, he has allowed 22 earned runs in 24 innings, with 11 homers allowed in that time. Maybe it's just the Brewers. Maybe just the Brewers get to him. Maybe it was the rain. I don't think it was the rain. Like, there's a couple of people asked me, like, was it the delay? And I'm like, well, look, the delay wasn't nothing, but the delay wasn't enough for me to be like, well, that's the reason why. Like, he still had 9 strikeouts, so obviously he still had some stuff. It's just those periods of time where he loses command on something and it's over the plate, he misses over the plate, it gets clobbered, Christian Yelich being one of those. Steve, I think we're officially, Locked On Reds is officially Don't Pitch to Christian Yelich podcast. And you know what? We love to toot our own horn, by the way, on this podcast. I don't know if you knew this or not, but we love to toot our own horn. And I said in spring training that Christian Yelich was declining. So toot my horn.
Solid work. Solid work, Jeffrey. You know, here's the thing. I am growing increasingly concerned about Hunter Greene. If you look at his spray chart from last night, it was clear he was having command problems. I'm getting a little impatient at this point. I'm kind of tired of everybody that talks about Hunter Greene saying, just wait, he's going to be an ace. He's going to be an ace. He's going to be great. He's going to put it all together. Well, you know what? We're in year 3. It is time to put it together. It is time to figure it out. It is time to either take that next step or the Reds need to be looking beyond him, because this is a team that is being constructed to win. And right now, Hunter Greene is not reliable. And I want to tell you something else that I have a bone to pick with Mr. Hunter Greene about. If you are having a game where you can't get anybody out, the very least that you can do is your job and back up throws and cover home plate and do the little things. And you can try hard at those things until such time as you can solve your pitching problem. And he gives up a crack to left field and meanders towards home plate And ultimately, it results in runners moving up because the throw gets away and there was nobody back there backing up Luke Maile. That was just lazy, unengaged baseball. And I don't know if he was just having a moment. I don't know if he was being truly lazy. I don't know if he just didn't care. But what I know is that the Reds have made a significant investment in him. The Reds have put him front and center to be the face, to be the star of this rotation. He has not lived up to it, and he's not doing anything to help his cause with taking plays off like that.
I wouldn't say it was laziness. I think that he was in his head about just the night as a whole. He was just getting clobbered all night. I mean, he goes 6 innings, but he still gives up plenty of stuff to the Brewers. The Brewers are just, I think the Brewers live rent-free in his head. The Brewers might live rent-free in a lot of Reds' heads, but definitely in Hunter Greene's head. I mean, his career has shown so far that he can't pitch against them. So hopefully he carries that chip on his shoulder to the next meeting, because they're in the division. He's going to see them a lot. This isn't going to be something that he's just going to be lucky and he doesn't pitch against the Brewers for the rest of this year. He's going to see them again. He's got to be able to pitch against these guys. He can't just have that built-in excuse. And I think for me, that's where I'm a little bit worried. I don't think I'm to your level just yet, where I'm just like, he needs to really, show us something or, move out of the way. I'm not there, but I am to the point where I'm starting to feel like, man, it feels like we're looking for a lot of excuses. It feels like we're trying to meander around the subject, and that is that he still hasn't gotten there yet. Is he 24? Is he really young? Yes. Was it a bad weather night? Yes. Is it the Brewers? Yes. He needs to rise above all of that. He is supposed to be that guy. He is supposed to be this team's ace. And if you are supposed to be an ace, there's no excuses for you. There's no excuses for, and I know he's hurt all the time, but I think of Jacob deGrom, or there's no excuses for a Justin Verlander, or there's no excuses for a Garrett Cole. Those guys go out there and they shove every single night, as long as they're healthy. They shove every single time they're out on the mound. And I just don't know if Hunter Greene is capable of that yet. I haven't seen it. I think he can get there, but it kind of seems like it's a ways off still.
To your point about his age, 24 is not what that used to mean. That used to be young in Major League Baseball. That's not really all that young anymore in Major League Baseball. And as I said, Jeff, this is now his 3rd big league season. 24 starts in 22, 22 starts in 23, 3 starts so far in 24 for a total of 49 starts. That's not nothing. And you would like to have seen him figure things out. We've been being told since he got here, he's working on a changeup. He's working on that 3rd pitch. He's working on things. It's coming. You're going to see. And it has yet to materialize. Now, I will give him credit because he did something last night that he hasn't been doing. We saw the curveball and we saw the splitter worked in. Now, they weren't perfect. Yeah. They're clearly works in progress, but I am encouraged that he was actually using them in a game. I'm going to need him to continue that, and I'm going to need to see improvement each time out with those pitches. And I think that part of Hunter Greene's problem thus far has been a stubbornness and unwillingness to mix those pitches in, to develop that extra pitch. The last time that he really had a performance that set me off, I talked about if he wants to be a 2-pitch pitcher, he just needs to go to the bullpen. And I'm hoping that he's moving past that. I'm hoping that he is embracing the adding of a 3rd and maybe even a 4th pitch, because that's really what he's going to need to do to keep these hitters off balance and to improve. I'm not ready to give up on him, Jeff. I don't want to give that impression, but I'm beyond concerned though. I'm somewhere in between those two places. I'm more than concerned. I'm less than let's take him out of the rotation, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I'm not. I think that our official position is we are expecting Hunter Greene to take that next step, and we're worried that he's not taking it. And I think that is exactly. I think that's what we've been trying to articulate for the last couple of minutes here. But Steve, with Hunter Greene, it wasn't all Hunter Greene. I mean, he didn't have the best night, but the Reds had a horrible night at the plate. And quite frankly, outside of 2 hitters in this lineup, there's a lot of bad performances going on. Coming up next, we'll tell you who the slump that we're most worried about. Today's episode is brought to you in part by Policygenius. Policygenius is the smarter way to buy insurance. Their proprietary technology makes it easy to compare personal quotes and policies from top-rated insurance side by side. Policygenius' team of licensed experts is here to answer questions, handle paperwork, and help you make decisions with confidence. They work for you, not for the insurance companies. From exploring coverage options to making policy adjustments as your life changes, Policygenius is your advocate at every step. And Policygenius is committed to your information remaining secure. Your security is their priority. They use industry-leading security practices to help make sure that your information is safe. Check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policygenius. Head to policygenius.com/lockedonmlb or click the link in the description of today's episode to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com/lockedonmlb.
Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers to roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and so much more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's guaranteed fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you're going to get your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit only available to U.S. customers.
Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Do you have to turn down the volume because of all the shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today. It's a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all of the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. And shout out to our everydayers out there. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. Guys and gals are what makes the show go. For our everydayers, on the next Locked On Reds podcast, Chuck Freeman from the Locked On Brewers podcast will join us for a series post-mortem. Sorry, hopefully it's just a series debrief because it'll be a split because the Reds will win today. But we'll talk a little bit about, because before the season started, we talked with Chuck, and Chuck actually kind of agreed with us that this might be a rebuilding year for Milwaukee. Is that changing? That'll be coming up on the next Locked On Reds podcast. Make sure you join us for that. All right, Steve, last night, so Hunter Greene wasn't great. Big reason why the Reds lost. The other reason, really, it was 50% Hunter Greene, 50% the lineup just being completely sleepwalking through this game. I don't really have a better way of saying this. I mean, Wade Miley for the longest time had a no-hitter against them. He didn't strike anybody out, but he had a no-hitter against the Reds. So there's so many slumps going on right now. I think we got to start with Jeimer Candelario.
That's exactly where I wanted to start too, Jeff. Yeah. While you were doing your read there, I was looking at his career stats, and you know that I like to use OPS plus as just a quick, fast way to gauge what a guy has done throughout his career. Through his career, 9 seasons, Jeff. He's into his 9th year now. He's a 101 OPS plus, so just slightly above league average. Right now, in a very small sample for the Reds, his OPS plus is 49. That should tell you everything you need to know about how he's performing. Now, last year, he was split between the Washington Nationals and the Chicago Cubs. On the year, he put up an OPS plus of 119. He was 19% better than league average in totality last season. For the Nationals, before the trade, he was at 125. So he had a good year. So this is not a player that was already showing decline and then came to the Reds and you're asking yourself, this is what you expect. Right now, I think everybody's probably looking around going, what's going on, because we brought him in here to be that extra piece to help set the Reds up to rotate around and have a switch hitter in the lineup that didn't have any splits. And that's not what we've been delivering so far.
He still doesn't have any splits. It's just they're all bad now instead of being all fine.
You're right. He is consistent. You're correct.
He went from hitting 250 against everybody to hitting 2 against everybody. So I think that he is a guy, and he kind of continues a trend, because I've been thinking about this as every time I watch him come up the bat and nothing happens, it makes me think of the recent lack of success that the Reds have had with bringing in like free agents or trading for guys or waiver claims or something like that when it pertains to the lineup. Will Myers, Hunter Renfroe, Harrison Bader, Asdrubal Cabrera, to be honest with you, Mike Moustakas, the first year of Nick Castellanos, even though it was 2020, I grant you it was a short year, but Nick Castellanos wasn't that great in 2020. He was really, really good in 2021, and that's what we remember. But his start to his tenure in Cincinnati wasn't really that great. There just seems to be a run now of, we get this free agent hitter, we get this new acquisition, veteran guy who's done it for somebody else, and he just doesn't do it here. And it makes no sense, because this is a hitter's ballpark. But all Jeimer Candelario seems to want to do is hit ground balls right now. He's got whatever Tyler Stephenson has in his bat right now, which I think is kind of where I want to move next with this. Because I think CES is going to be fine. I think he's going to get his. But I think I'm most worried about Jeimer Candelario. I'm second most worried about Tyler Stephenson, because we're seeing the same stuff. We're seeing the same results from everything that he has done with the bat last year. We talked ourselves, we worked ourselves up into a lather about, well, maybe he wasn't completely healthy. Maybe he was still, getting confidence in his swing and things like that. I still continue to see the same stuff. And he's got this very strange statistic. I know he didn't play last night, but he's got this very strange statistic on our one of our favorite websites, Baseball Savant, and that is his average launch angle. There's a lot of folks that just heard launch angle got triggered because they think that ruins hitters. It's not about, shooting for a launch angle. Launch angle helps us understand the performance of a player. His average launch angle is -9, which means the average hit that he is hitting is a ground ball. And that is not okay. And I get it. It's only 11 games in. He hadn't played all 11. He's playing every other day. But that's got to change real fast before we worry about any of the other numbers.
Yeah, his slash line right now, Jeff, 259, 310, 333. So it's not horrid. I mean, it could be worse. But you're right. If you're looking to Tyler Stephenson to leg out grounders, that is not going to be a thing. He is not going to be burning it down the first baseline. So you're right. There's something going on there. I hope that the power comes. Barry Larkin talked a little bit about Candelario on the broadcast last night, saying that he believes that it's going to come for Jeimer, that he's just not quite dialed in yet, that he has shown throughout his career that he's going to get right. It's just taking some time. I want to believe that. I want to believe the same with Tyler Stephenson. I don't really like how he's being used right now. I don't like this every other day.
One on.
Yeah. I don't like it. I think Tyler Stephenson needs to be back behind the plate through the month of April. Let's see if he can get something going. And then if he can't, then maybe you make some adjustments.
We made this point in the offseason that he is catcher 1 and Luke Maile is catcher 2. The way that they're playing right now, they're catcher 1A and 1B.
Yeah, and catcher by committee right now.
I kind of find that problematic. Like Luke Maile is fine as your rotating catcher, but if your rotation is 50% of the time, I got problems with that. And I'm a little bit, I don't know. Like, I feel like we said it yesterday. We're not going to rehash this discussion, but they need to reshuffle the lineup. And right now, if you're not Spencer Steer or Elly De La Cruz, you're in a slump. Everyone else is just in a slump right now. Like, Jonathan Indy is getting on base, which is a good thing, but for the most part, everybody else is in a slump. And we need to see this change, because this team is built around scoring and hoping that the pitching staff is just average. The pitching staff has to be better than average if the lineup is only average. And I get it. It was just one night, and I might be overreacting to an early season game, but this game counts just as much as a game in September.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, you're right about Jonathan India. He's still getting on base at about 40% of the time. I'll take that from the leadoff guy. Love to see it. To your point on CES, I think you're right also. He's starting to show signs. He's hitting the ball a little bit better. He looks a little bit more comfortable in the batter's box. Defensively, he made a hell of a catch last night. Yes, I don't know if you saw it on the tarp, off the screen, kind of a diving catch.
Baseball Savant loves his defense so far this year. Yeah.
And because you called him out on it, he drew his first walk of the season in last night's game. So things are improving at the plate for CES.
Hey, Jeimer, get a barrel. We need a barrel.
I think he's going to get it. That barrel, that's the next thing will be for Jeimer to get a barrel. Stuart Fairchild has performed better than what I expected, but I think not as good as what people were thinking he was going to do. I'm not quite ready to write that song and celebrate him, but he's doing well. He's still hitting over 300. So, there are a few guys that are doing some things. And you're right. This whole lineup right now should be centered around Spencer Steer and Elly De La Cruz. We hashed out a lineup yesterday. David, if you missed yesterday's episode and you're listening today, go watch yesterday's episode so that you can get a lineup that we think is going to work. We wrote it for you. You just can copy it down. I gave you permission. Copy it down, turn it in. Let's roll with that.
But I tell you that I am worried. Like I do think that we're going to see a turnaround here soon because it's early. It's April. Most guys start to get into a groove here at the end of the month and into May and into June and stuff like that. But it feels like there's a couple of guys that I'm really worried about, and we'll see if they can break out of it.
All right, coming up, we've got kind of a hodgepodge of things we need to cover. In the offseason, Jeff, you and I both said we thought Milwaukee was going to blow it up. We thought they would be sellers and that the Reds were going to have an opportunity to run away with this division. A lot's changed since we had that conversation, but I want to check in with you after what we've seen from the Brewers during the course of this series thus far and see if you still think they're selling, if we still think they're selling. And then we're also going to dig into a couple silver linings from what was otherwise a pretty bad game. We got all that coming up next. It's playoff time in the NBA and the NHL. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every single game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 in your account, win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that's safe, secure, and easy to use. And when I say easy to use, their app is fantastic. You can find exactly what you're looking for, place your bet, and track it in real time to see how much you are winning. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet for an automatic win of $150 in bonus bets, guaranteed. That's over at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. As you know, we love talking baseball, and we love talking baseball with you, and we want to talk baseball with you even more. So if you haven't joined us over on our Discord community, we want to see you there. We want to talk baseball with you over there. The link for that down in today's show description. Also, have you become a Locked On Reds insider yet? Well, Jeff has revamped that whole program over there, and he wants you to be an insider with him. He wants you to be the person that your friends and your coworkers and your family all come to find out what's going on with the Reds. He wants you to join him as an insider. For $4.99 a month, you will become a smarter Reds fan, and you're going to get all of the latest updates directly from Jeff. Just text insider to 513-597-0944 and get started with a free 14-day trial today to see if you like it. Also, bookmark Sports Illustrated's si.com/MLB/Reds to get all of your written Reds coverage from writers like Jeff Carr, a little bit from me, a little bit from James Rapine, Caleb Sisk, Audie Elmore. There's a great crew over there writing about the Reds. Make sure you bookmark that site and check it out today. All right, Jeff, I got messaged about the predictions we made about the Milwaukee Brewers during the course of that butt whooping that we were taking yesterday. And I thought it might be good to revisit what we said and how it's going as far as the Milwaukee Brewers blowing it up. Now, you and I were in agreement that when they traded Corbin Burns and started to do some other moves, we thought it pointed to blowing it up this season and doing a rebuild. But then they went out and signed Bowers to play first base. And that was a little confounding. That didn't quite match up with what we thought. And when we talked to Chuck over at Locked On Brewers, we kind of all landed on a consensus that if they didn't get out to a hot start, they would blow it up. They would rebuild, but they would be a quick rebuild and be right back in the game in 2025. Thus far, they've gotten out to a hot start. So I don't know that a rebuild is on the table right now. If they collapse, if things falls apart, if they fall back in the division, I think they could still be a rebuild candidate sometime this season.
Bowers and Hoskins, and they didn't trade Willy Adames and all this other stuff. So yeah, are they really going for it? They're not going to make a decision based on 11 games. Nobody makes a decision based on 11 games in Major League Baseball. I really still think that's on the table for them. And if I could ask you this, Steve, because I think it applies here too, who was the first place NL Central team at the end of April in 2023?
That would be Ethan Smith's Pittsburgh Pirates.
The Pittsburgh Pirates. So what we know about teams that have a hot April, well, they better have a hot May and a hot June and a hot, they got to continue it. And early season stuff is so different from later on in the season. I have not changed my position on Milwaukee at all. I'll be interested to see what Chuck has to say tomorrow. I grant that he may be a little bit enthusiastic, especially if they end up winning tomorrow, or if they end up winning today. But I still think that he is of the same mindset because he was almost in agreement with us. I don't think that he wants them to blow it up, but I think that he sees it because when you trade your ace, that's a signal. That's not we're going to trade our ace and we're going to retool. Like you don't.
And he also picked the Reds to win this division, by the way.
He did pick the Reds to win the division. Plus, we're forgetting the fact that they're doing all of this without Devin Williams. And Devin Williams is going to be out just as long as TJ Friedl is. And I think that is a big miss for them because some of the guys in their bullpen have not started out the year the way that they did last year. Now, Abner Uribe looks like a pretty good pitcher out there in their bullpen, but Joel Payamps isn't the same. Hobie Milner isn't the same. Like, they're benefited these last couple of days from Red starters blowing up. I would love to see if tomorrow, if we are talking, we're recording the night before on Thursday. If Thursday's game is a close game, what does that look like in the late innings? Because we know that the Reds play well in the late innings.
So we've talked about a lot of negative today. So let's, in the little bit of time that we've got left, Jeff, let's find a couple silver linings, a couple good things to talk about before we get out of here. This was a little bit of a cathartic episode for both of us. There are a lot of angry texts between me and Jeff during last night's game. So let's find a couple good things. First off, let's start with Elly De La send him down because everybody that had that take, I wish I had I wish I had saved screenshots and could put some people on blast, but not going to go there. Elly De La Cruz hasn't struck out in 3 games, Jeff.
He is a guy that the Brewers do not live rent-free in Elly De La Cruz's head. He lives rent-free in their heads. In fact, did you see the quote from William Contreras? Like, he brought the team together after game 1 when they were committing error after error and all this other stuff. And William Contreras was of the mindset that they were just so mesmerized by the talent of Elly De La Cruz that anytime he put the ball in play, they lost their minds. And then they couldn't recover from that, and then it was a snowball effect and all this other stuff. So William Contreras brought the team together and tried to calm them down, just be like, he's just a really good player. You all are really good players. And all this. But the point is, they had a team meeting based on Elly De La Cruz. That was a fantastic thing to see, and he just continues. He goes Oppo Taco as a left-handed hitter, but he goes Oppo Taco to left field off of Bryce Miller, the relief pitcher that came in for Wade Miley, which was amazing to see, though. Multi-hit day, and just like you said, 3 straight games without a strikeout.
And also 3 home runs in this series. All 3 of his home runs on the year coming in this series. And one last little positive note on Elly De La Cruz, as you're probably listening to us getting ready for today's game, Elly De La Cruz slash line is now 318, 375, 659.
Give me that on base percentage all day long. The other thing that we wanted to shout out, silver linings, positive vibes only here, the bullpens looked fantastic. And part of it is, the starting pitching seems to have given up all the runs that the Brewers want to score. But last couple of nights, there's been some good performances. And, you and I were talking about this a little bit before we hit record. In years past, it feels like when the Reds get beat like a drum, like they did on Wednesday night, they use 6, 7 different pitchers to do it. They only used 3 pitchers last night, including Hunter Greene. Now, Brent Suter once again pitches in a loss. He threw multiple innings on Sunday's game whenever they lost, and he throws multiple innings on Wednesday night. And then you had Buck Farmer pitch, but the point is they're going into the series finale here with a chance to split, and they have got the full complement of the elite arms in their bullpen ready to go.
Yeah, I think Suter could go again today if he has to. I wouldn't expect to see Buck Farmer. I think he's probably the only guy in the bullpen not available today. And just a quick note on Farmer, he still doesn't look quite right. I think his velocity is still down just a little bit, but he has looked a whole lot better. He looked a whole lot better in last night's outing. He struck out 2. Now, he did walk 1, but again, he's starting to look like he's getting to be that guy we expected him to be for a great 6th or 7th inning pitcher, which is what his role on this team is now. So I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see him come along. I know some people were down on him with a couple early bad outings with a couple big home runs that he gave up, but it looks to me like he's figuring it out. And, and I'm starting to wonder with some of these guys, especially the ones that are still mired in a slump from the beginning, if they just didn't get themselves quite ready out in Arizona, especially in, we saw the pitchers struggle. We saw them not get their typical amount of work. We saw some of them delayed, on again, off again. We saw that with the pitchers. With the hitters, we talked about Candelario earlier, who still hasn't figured it out, but coming into a new team, new routines, new system, maybe he just wasn't ready. So my hope is now, as we're getting into mid-April, that these guys are starting to figure it out, are starting to put it together. And that's my optimistic slant. We didn't give a whole lot of optimism there in the first 2 segments. My optimistic slant on this is hopefully now that we're reaching mid-April, guys are going to start to figure it out and they will turn a corner and this lineup will get going a little bit. This bullpen will continue to be dialed in and maybe that's going to be enough to carry the Reds through April and May when they get everybody back.
And that is a great way to end today's podcast. Thank you so much for checking out today's Locked On Reds podcast. Make sure, if you are not subscribed, hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcasting app and right here on YouTube, and click that bell to get notified whenever we've got new content for you on the YouTube page as well. Steve and I are so happy to have all of you everydayers along, and anyone who is brand new that's got to this point, thank you so much for checking out today's episode. Make sure you become an everydayer. Steve, take us away.
All right, that is going to do it for us. We're going to continue to monitor these games and gather up information, bring it all right back here to keep you locked on Reds every single day.
Exhale.